What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Jake Shavink here, and in today's video, Packers fans, we're going to try to answer the one question on everyone's mind. Who's going to be the pick at pick 25 in the 2024 NFL Draft? So in this video, we've got three categories. We have the leaders in the clubhouse category. We have the Will Goody stretch category. We'll get to that. And we have the twisted mind category. That one's going to be a lot of fun at the end. But let's start with the leaders in the clubhouse at pick 25. And we're going to start with Iowa defensive back Cooper DeJean. 6 foot 0.5, 203 pounds. Comes up big at his pro day, a 9.85 RAS. Runs really fast. You know, he's got the frame to play a lot of different positions in the secondary, right? You could see him being a nickel. You could see him being a strong safety. He could be an outside corner, right, in a deep third in the Halfley defense. It's very possible that he could move around depending on the team Green Bay is playing. And I think that versatility and all of the things in terms of eye discipline, route recognition, the speed, the toughness, the tackling ability, right, and the ball skills, they're all going to translate to being an effective player in the secondary. It's just going to be up to Halfley to kind of determine where DeJean would play. Now, next on the list is Alabama corner Kool-Aid McKinstry. 5'11.5", 199 pounds. He would be a little bit of an outlier in terms of the RAS score in the first round of the 7.55. But he did run really fast, has like a 99th percentile 10-yard split. But he has all of the things you want to be an outside corner, right? A 66 passer rating allowed in coverage in his career, 16 pass breakups and an interception in 2022, right? You see the ball production there. He's got immense patience, right? Impressive technique, impressed looks. He's got the route recognition. He's got the transitional quickness, right? He's got the impact playmaking at the catch point. He's disruptive there. There's so many reps where it's just very boring for him in coverage because he's taking care of his assignment. And that's what you want to see from an outside corner. Now, the long speed might be the question mark that's on film, but like overall, if you're asking for a McKinstry, Jair Alexander pairing, I really like that, and I think Green Bay would like that as well. Moving on here to the offensive line, obviously Graham Barton comes into the equation as well. 6'5" and 3/8, 313 pounds, a 9.85 RAS at offensive tackle. If you shift him further inside, the RAS gets better in terms of percentile. I think he's a 10 out of 10, a 10 RAS at center. In his career, 2,134 snaps at left tackle, 430 at center. He started out at center at Duke, and that's notable, right? There is potential for 5-position flexibility, but I think at worst you're looking at a very, very high-quality center who can play tackle in a pinch. And I think you see impressive quicks, right, to mirror, to work to the second level. He's got a good anchor and pass protection. You see him kind of roll the hips through contact, and he has a little bit of a finisher quality to him as a run blocker. How Green Bay sees Barton, that's going to be the ultimate question of whether or not he becomes the pick at 25 or, you know, if he's available. There's some buzz going around there that he might go in the top 20. Now, the upside swing for Green Bay at this spot is Oklahoma tackle Tyler Guyton, 6'7" ¾ 322 pounds, a little bit on the heavier side in terms of what they normally have preferred at offensive line, but it's not too far out of the equation, right? 9.71 RAS. Most of his snaps have been at right tackle, 1,011 his last two seasons, both of which were at Oklahoma. He started at TCU, just 51 at left tackle. In 513 opportunities, just 16 pressures and 2 sacks allowed. I think he is the upside swing because of the functional athleticism. You see him be an impressive mover, whether it be pulling, whether it be second level work, but he also has quick feet in his pass sets to recover in pass protection, to keep, you know, himself in front of edge rushers. That's all well and good. He needs to work on hand placement, that's for sure. He is the upside swing because of the potential you could see 2 or 3 years down the road, but right away he could definitely struggle. Now we shift to the defensive tackle portion of things, starting out with Texas defensive tackle Byron Murphy. Could he be there at 25? Maybe. Could he not? Absolutely. 6 foot 0.5, 297 pounds, a 9.2 RAS in 2023, 45 pressures, 6 sacks, and a 19.1% pass rush win rate. That is really, really good, especially for a guy who played a lot of nose tackle, right, in his time at Texas, where he was handling the double teams more than T'Vondre Sweat was, and he was using an unorthodox technique. He was dropping to one knee to make that happen. Urgent mover, really good initial quicks, twitch, change of direction ability, combined with really, really violent hand usage and really effective hand usage to rush and create pressure really from anywhere he's lined up. He even had a rep where he kind of lined up at like 5 technique, beat a left tackle to the quarterback. He can do it all in terms of the pass rush ability. He's going to be able to one gap really well for Green Bay, and I think that's what they're going to want out of their defensive tackles. Now, speaking of defensive tackles, Illinois' Johnny Newton. 6'1 3/4, 304 pounds. Don't have RAS data from him. He didn't test. However, production's good, right? 12 sacks the last 2 seasons and 102 pressures. Really, really good there for a defensive tackle. Now, you see the production drop a little bit in terms of pressures from 22 to 23. I think that's with a little bit of a tweak in the scheme where the defensive tackles were more sidestepping off the snap than they were attacking, and you want Newton to be able to attack as a rusher. Incredible first step explosiveness. Very, very good strike timing with his hands. He works half man really well as a rusher from the interior, and he can sit and leverage in one gap as a run defender. And I think that's what obviously Green Bay is going to want. Just like Murphy, Newton can do that at a high level. So those are the 6 that you really look at and you go, yeah, any of those guys, you could definitely see it being the pick at 25. Those are the leaders in the clubhouse. Now, we move to would Goody stretch? Meaning, would the thresholds, would the tendencies, would he stretch them a little bit? As he often has done in recent drafts. There are things that he's deviated from a little bit. We'll start with Georgia tackle Amari Mims. Okay, 6'7 3/4, 340 pounds, a 9.57 RAS. Just 8 starts and 801 snaps at right tackle in his career. So a little more inexperience, had the injury in 2023. That robbed him of getting more experience, more starts under his belt before entering the league. But you see a really smooth mover at 340. You know, as a run blocker in space, right? He's got the impressive size and frame to help him in pass pro. He's not very refined in terms of the hand usage, fighting for position and leverage, right? But he can generate a ton of force in the run game as well. The refinement is necessary with him. He's another one that's a 1-2 year, developmental project where he is going to see all that work and development be realized, later down the road in the rookie contract. But the upside is tremendous with a player like Mims. Maybe could even, flip-flop from right to left tackle. There is talk about that. We move to defensive end. And the reason he's on here, Latu, 6'4 3/4, 259 pounds, a 9.33 RAS. Production off the charts, 27 sacks the last 2 seasons, and 127 pressures. Outstanding, right? You see the pass rush arsenal. You see him counter really well. He can sit leverage to defend the run. And he's really an impact player in terms of wreaking havoc from any alignment. He's kicked inside to like 3 tech and made a mockery of the guards that have gone against him. The reason he's here is because of, one, arm length, of course. That's one of the things that Goody tends to, follow his predecessors with in terms of what they like at the position, but also the medicals. Daniel Jeremiah has reported that 18 to 20 teams have taken Latu off their board. Green Bay could be one of them for sure. If not, though, this is kind of out of their comfort zone a little bit in terms of swinging in the first round on a player who did medically retire. But Latu, really, really good player, would obviously step in, and be edge 3 immediately, especially with Amari's injury. But long term, could be a big, big part of that rotation. Jordan Morgan from Arizona is next on the list, 6'5", 311, a 9.2 RAS, 2,392 snaps at left tackle. His performance went way, way up after 3 seasons. His last 2 seasons have been really, really tremendous in terms of pass blocking, especially. He could potentially be kicked into guard, and that makes it, a little murky like Graham Barton. With Morgan, it's more about the arm length, right? Because, some teams will see him as a tackle. Some teams will see him kick inside. It's hard to know which Green Bay is going to like more than the other. Maybe lean guard a little bit, but he does have urgency and quicks in pass pro to mirror and recover. His hands do get a little wide at times, and he has to improve his lower body strength. That's why, the conversion to guard is a little bit dicey. He's going to face, lighter players out on the edge at left tackle, but this would be kind of that solid, potentially positionally flexible player that Green Bay could take the swing at, but obviously the arm length is the biggest question with him. He meets pretty much everything else. And last on the would Goody stretch category is Clemson cornerback Nate Wiggins, 6'1 3/8, 173 pounds. He reportedly was at 181 pounds at the pro day, a 9.43 RAS. That would obviously be altered if he truly is 181, right? You'll see that RAS go up a little bit. In 2023, 2 interceptions, 4 pass breakups, a 44.4 passer rating when targeted. Very, very strong numbers there. He's really quick and fluid in coverage, great click close ability. He's disruptive at the catch point. He's got plenty of speed to carry, receivers vertically, keep with them horizontally, right? He has all of that. He has impressive film in terms of his coverage skill set. Needs to improve as a tackler, right? And that's kind of the biggest thing, minus the weight, right? That's the biggest thing for Green Bay is the weight, right? Is he going to play at 180 plus, maybe 185? Green Bay has notoriously stuck with, 190 plus more often than not at corner. So that's why he's a little bit of an outlier here. But there's no doubt that him and Jair would form an incredible duo at corner. Now, 3 other names that don't have the graphics here that I think could make sense. Troy Fautanu from Washington, right? Not quite the height that Green Bay normally likes at their offensive linemen, but a really, really strong player at left tackle who could potentially kick into guard if need be. J.C. Latham, another one in the same kind of build as Amari Mims, right? A lot more size and weight at the tackle position that Green Bay normally is comfortable with, but definitely somebody who could step in and potentially guard right away, as well as right tackle and make an impact. And the last one, of course, Jared Verse. If he were even to be there, 254 pounds, but he's a really, really strong run defender on the edge. Boy, he'd be fun to have in a rotation. There's no doubt about that. Now we get to the main event here, the twisted mind, things that would maybe make you go, oh my goodness, they actually did that. It's possible. We have to think about every scenario here. We'll start with maybe, okay, that, I could kind of see that. We'll start with Edgerrin Cooper, linebacker from Texas A&M, 6'2 and an eighth, 230, 9.1 RAS, 27 pressures, 10 sacks, 58 tackles, and 2 pass breakups in 2023. Phenomenal athlete at the linebacker position. You see the sideline to sideline ability. You see impressive range and coverage, right? In pursuit. He can do all of that stuff really, really well. He's got a good processing skill set, and the processing and reaction combined with the athleticism makes for a very, very impressive linebacker. He's got that, blitzing ability, right? To close with a ton of burst, right? He's going to affect the quarterback when he's sent on a blitz very often. It's just a question of, if he's playing will linebacker, right, because he's not really a block deconstructor, he's more of dip around, get around guys, rather than kind of holding the line and sitting and leveraging as a linebacker, right? So that's kind of the question. He's probably going to play will and not Mike linebacker. Would Green Bay want, 2 of that type starting for them? That's really the question with Cooper. Now we head to offensive line again. We go with Kingsley Su Mata, 6'4 and 5/8, 326 pounds. Again, we're pushing the limits a little bit here as well in terms of size, right at 326. But, not too far off in terms of what Green Bay has done to this point in the Goody era. A 9.38 RAS. He's got snaps, over 650 snaps at left tackle and right tackle in his career with BYU. Started at Oregon. Is the projection to guard make a lot of sense? It could. I do think he was impressive on film at right tackle. He's still really good in terms of the athleticism and pass protection, right? I think he's got fast, active hands. He fights for positioning really well, and he's got a ton of power in his frame. And I think he is the kind of guy, especially really young player as well, where Green Bay could say, oh yeah, young player, potential, development track and ascension that we really, really like. And just decide, what, this offensive line class is loaded, but we know that at pick 41, our options could be further limited, and just go ahead and take Su Mata at 25. Now we go a little more insane here. We talk about defensive end, Marshon Neal from Western Michigan, 6'3", 267, 34.5-inch arm length, a 902 RAS. In 2022, 25 pressures, 2 sacks. In 2023, 37 pressures, 6 sacks, 35 run stops. The run stops are more of, a negative play for the offense, right? That'll be a tackle at the line of scrimmage. Maybe it's just a 1 or 2 yard gain, right? Limiting early down success. That's kind of what they mean in PFF by stops. He's a prototypical defensive end, and there aren't a ton of them in this draft, right? You could kind of look at the Latus and the Verses and maybe Braswell. There are a few others, of course, but when you look at 4.3 defensive ends, 267, that kind of size, it's pretty limited across the board. And if Green Bay, is interested in Nealand, they had him in for a visit, if they're really bent on getting someone to add to that depth at defensive end, might need to do it earlier than you think. Dane Brugler's got him 32 on his board. Now there's reported talk about Nealon going in the first round, and teams potentially having Nealon higher than the media does. With a week to go, those are usually more accurate than not, so it's something to pay attention to. Right, he's got the impressive power. He's got the explosion to power as a rusher. He can bull rush. Right, he can sit, anchor, and leverage against the run. He's got good closing bursts and speed in pursuit, right, or when he gets off blocks to make plays. There's a lot of potential wrapped up in here with Nealon, in the same vein of a Lucas Van Ness, of a Rashawn Gary. As we keep going, the twisted mind gets even crazier, right? We're going to talk about Chop Robinson here, believe it or not. 6'2" and 7/8", 254 pounds, a 9.72 RAS. 74 pressures and 8 sacks in his last 2 seasons. Now, the pressure production hasn't turned into sack production as much, but he definitely affects games, right? The first step explosiveness is impressive. The second and third step, my goodness, he can be around the arc in a hurry. When he times his hand usage well and his strike well, boy, he creates plenty of avenue for himself to get to the quarterback in a hurry. He doesn't do too well against the run, and this is where the twisted mind comes into play, where Green Bay needs linebacker help. Would they consider moving Chop Robinson to linebacker on early downs because he's such an elite athlete in space, right? In pursuit with the range running, and getting to the perimeter on screen plays, dropping into coverage. Like, he can kind of do all that stuff because he's that good of an athlete. Maybe you play him at linebacker on early downs and you let him rush the passer on late downs. Probably an insane take here, but that's where we are right now in terms of the video. So Chop Robinson, there you go. Here we go again, right? Brian Thomas Jr., wide receiver, LSU, 6'2" and 7/8", 209 pounds, a 9.84 RAS, a 4.33 40, 68 catches, 1,177 yards, 17 touchdowns in 2023. Took him 2 seasons, right, of downplay to get to that third-year breakout. Something to monitor, right? Analytically, the profile is a little shaky, but he's an exceptional deep threat, right? Has the short area burst, sustained speed to stack downfield and win with that speed. He's got elusiveness and obviously that burst after the catch to be a factor there. And you see the adjustment skills, you see the leaping ability at the catch point. If Green Bay is at all worried about their ability to stretch the field out, if they're worried about Watson's injuries, right? If they believe that Reed's going to be their slot gadget player, they're not going to let him be much of a deep threat. Brian Thomas Jr. could obviously come in and fill that role really well immediately while he develops other parts of his game. Boy, that receiver room would be insane if Thomas joined it. Obviously, it's already very, very good. This could just be a BPA type of move for Goody. As we get to the final one here on the list, it's going to be linebacker again, and maybe one that's a little more shocking, I think, than Edgerrin Cooper. Maybe not as shocking as Chop Robinson, I guess, but it's Junior Coulson from Michigan, 6'2" and a quarter, 238 pounds, no RAS data. He did not do any of the testing. Is a younger player, right, 21 years old. That's enticing to Green Bay in early rounds. We already talked about that with Su Mata, right? 128 tackles, 4 sacks, 67 stops in his last 2 seasons. He's got the Mike linebacker potential, and he could do it potentially as a rookie, allow you to move Quay Walker to will linebacker, and you feel really comfortable about that room, especially when you're in nickel, probably majority of the time. Having a Coulson Walker duo out there when you're in nickel, that's going to be really effective, right? He's got the size and speed. He's got some range sideline to sideline. He can handle run defense between the tackles, and the flashes are apparent in coverage with Junior Coulson. Would the Packers do that and potentially just say, yeah, we got to get the linebacker early. We're not going to mess around with that? It could very well be possible, right? And so that's why it's just, again, keep your eyes open for some of these guys in the twisted mind category, because you just never know. So hope you guys enjoyed the video here breaking down potential selections for the Packers at pick 25. If you did, throw a like down there. Subscribe if you're new. Plenty more draft content leading up to the draft. Live shows, of course, Thursday and Friday, covering the picks, analysis, giveaways. Stay tuned for that. And, of course, for post-draft content as well. Stick around. A lot going to be happening over the next month or so. Thank you guys for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Farewell.